Munchies. I'm Lauren Craig.
And I'm Billie Reyes.
And today we're reviewing The Breakfast Club. It's a 1985 teenage coming-of-age film where high school students from different cliques spend a Saturday together in detention with their authoritarian-style principal.
And for our munchies, we are trying the Lara Bar Coconut Cream Pie. Woo.
Let's try it.
This only has 5 ingredients, and I chose it because I'm a huge coconut fan. I'm not too sure if you're a coconut fan, but I love coconut.
I'm on the fence with coconut.
The 5 ingredients are coconut, almonds, cashew, vinegar, and coconut oil.
Okay. It actually does taste like a dessert.
So what would you rate this Lara Bar?
I actually really enjoy this, and like I said, I'm on the fence with coconut. Like, it's not my favorite, but I'm not disgusted by it. And I really actually like this flavor. I would rate this a 4.
I would rate this, maybe a 3.5. I like it, but I don't see me like eating this for like a movies. I see it more like a snack, like, oh, like if I'm a little bit hungry, I'm like, okay, like I want like something really quick and on the go. This would be it.
All right, so this is a classic movie, so you might have seen it before, but what did you think about it, watching it again with a fresh set of eyes?
Oh my god, this is one of the movies that like never gets old. So when I first watched this, my husband recommended it to me, and I was like, oh, what's The Breakfast Club? And he's like, you never watched The Breakfast Club? And I was like, no. And then he's like, you should watch it. And then after I watched it, I was like, I love this movie. So I love it. It's a classic that never gets old. So good choice.
When was the first time you watched it? How long ago?
7 years ago I watched it, and then watching it again, and it just gives like all those like high school memories and like all those cliques that you remember in high school and how high school was.
So this was my first time watching this movie. I'm super late to the game. And I've had that same reaction. Everyone's like, you've never seen Breakfast Club? I'm like, no, I haven't. But I have been wanting to watch it for a while now. So I was glad I finally got to watch it. Unpopular opinion, I didn't really enjoy this movie that much.
Oh, what? Well, at least you got to watch it.
At least I got to watch it. I don't know, I just like had so many high expectations for it, and I just like, the whole time I was like looking at how much time was left. I wasn't really, into it.
It's okay, it's okay.
Okay, so during the movie, there's all these teenagers from different cliques, and there's this one guy who I would say he like had one of the more prominent roles. He was like the bad kid that was like bullying everybody. Were you ever bullied?
In high school, I got bullied by this girl, and it was just weird because like I don't know how it started. I just know that she didn't like me, and she would always like talk down to me, and I would like feel so small. And this was like freshman year, so I didn't really know anybody in high school because I went to a different middle school. And yeah, and it kind of like scarred me like for the first couple of years in high school, but then after I graduated, I was like, oh, like forget about her, like I'm gonna be big and like in movies, and like they're just gonna regret forever bullying me. How about you? Have you ever been bullied?
I was bullied in elementary school a little bit. Yeah, he bullied me for a while. It wasn't anything major, like he didn't hurt me or anything, but he would just like say mean things to me. Then I remember I befriended this girl. She was like known to be like a mean girl, and she wanted to be friends with me. And after that, like, no one would mess with me because they knew I was friends with the girl that was, like, mean, and they didn't want to mess with her. But then it was kind of bad because then she would, like, bully people, and I was, like, guilty by association, and I always felt kind of icky about, like, how she would talk to people. But, yeah, it was, like, a weird turn of events.
Since this is a high school movie, have you ever gotten in trouble during high school?
Growing up, my dad would call me like Xena Warrior Princess because I was like very strong-willed and like I didn't let anyone mess with me. And in 7th grade, I had this teacher, and she was really mean. And I remember she, like, particularly would, like, always call me a rebel. And I was like, I didn't really know what that meant at the time. But I just didn't like that she was calling me something because I didn't like her and she was mean. I remember I went home and I was, like, talking to my dad. I was like, she keeps singling me out and calling me a rebel and I don't like it. He was like, well, tell her next time that you don't want to be called a rebel. And I was like, okay. So the next time she's like, oh, Lauren, you're such a rebel. And I was like, don't call me a rebel. A little bit later, she called me a rebel again. And I, like, stood up and I was like, I told you not to call me a rebel anymore. And you're not supposed to call. Like, you should listen to me. And, like, yelling at her. And then she got mad and she sent me to the office because I, like, yelled at her in the middle of class in front of everybody. And then...
Yeah, but you warned her, too.
I did warn her. And then, so I'm sitting in the office, like, mad that I got sent there. And then another girl from my class comes down to the office. And I was like, what happened to you? And she was like, I yelled at her, too, because I told her you were right. And you told her not to call you a rebel. And she did it anyway. So I stood up for you. And, like, me and this girl were not even friends. Like, she just got in trouble for standing up for me. And I was like, wow, thanks. Like, I appreciate you. And then, like, it turned into this whole huge thing, and my mom got called in, and the principal was, like, talking about what I had done, and then I just remember my mom being like, well, she told her not to call her that, and she did it, so my daughter was in the right. And I was like, yeah!
The biggest one I can remember is during my senior year. If you don't have classes, like, within, like, your period, you have to leave campus. So I went to, like, one of my teacher's classes that have, like, this room. It's like a hangout room. And I was like, I'm just going to take a nap because I don't have class right now. So I was taking a nap, and supposedly the principal decided to, like, visit this classroom at this particular day, at this particular time when I was sleeping. And one of my best friends, who was a guy, he was, like, playing games, and I was, like, laying on the table just taking my nap. And the principal, like, knocks on the door. He opens, he sees my friend, and then he looks at me and he's like, go into the office. And he's like, do you realize how it looked when I walked in and you were sleeping and he was on the game playing? Like, it looked like something really bad. And I'm like, oh my god, like, I'm just trying to sleep. And mind you, I was SBA president, so Student Body Association president. And so it made it even worse that this person that's supposed to be, like, liable and, like, leading is sleeping during a non-class period and, like, getting in trouble. So fast forward to, like, getting lectured and my mom finding out. I ended up having to do, like, after school detention. And back home, like, our detention's very different from here. Like, we had to, like, clean the weeds off of, like, this fence at this, like, garden, like, the garden shop area. So, like, the weeds were crawling all over the fence. So we had to use, like, machetes and, like, all these stuff to take it down. And, like, my friends felt really, really bad for me. So we ended up, like, turning it into, like, something really good where they all came over. And we just started, like, cleaning up the fence. And then afterwards, we all hung out at my house. So, like, I don't understand how I got into, like, this big trouble for just sleeping. But I don't know. Yeah, that's my story.
Okay, so during the movie, all these kids, like, mid-movie, kind of get together, and they're kind of, like, showing off their hidden talents. And that's when Molly Ringwald has her infamous scene where she, like, puts on her lipstick in between her boobs. Do you have any hidden talents?
I do. So, I started fire dancing, like, last year. So I am a fire dancer. And it's pretty cool because, like, I'm like okay at it, but I want to be, like, really good at it. So, like, if someone's like, oh, like, I need a fire dancer for a party, like, I could do it. But yeah, that's my hidden talent. I'm a fire dancer, a poi fire dancer, and I'm also learning how to do fire knife, which my husband does. And, like, we're trying to do like a couples thing where, like, if one of us gets hired, we could also, like, provide services for, like, a couple kind of thing. So yeah, I'm a fire dancer. How about you? What's your hidden talent?
I I was thinking long and hard about this, and I got really sad because I don't think I have any hidden talents. I'm like, there's nothing I can, like, point to that, like, if we were sitting around that circle and they were all doing it and I was there, they would get to me and I would just be like, I got nothing. Like, I can perform a monologue. Like, I'm an actress, but, I mean, that's a talent, but that's not really, like, a cool party trick.
Were you ever part of a stereotype in high school? Were you part of any of those groups?
Not really. It was kind of funny because my high school, like, we had those cliques, but everyone was still, like, pretty cool with everyone. Like, it was never, like, oh, you're a cheerleader and you're a band, so we're not going to be friends. Like, I had friends in, like, every club. So, I guess I was part of, like, the band crew because I was in color guard. I had friends all over.
Same boat, like, just kind of knew everybody. We were, like, my high school was really big on, like, what village you're from. So, that's a little different. Like, if you're, like, a part of, like, this village, then you kind of hung out with them, like, during lunch. Different areas of high school.
Okay, so throughout the whole movie, there's that, like I said, that bully guy. And then Molly Ringwald was, like, the popular prissy girl. And there was also a jock guy and a really, really weird girl who was just, like, kind of goth and out there. And at the end of the movie, the jock and the weird girl got together, and the bully and the prissy girl got together. So I'm curious as to what you thought about those pairings.
I thought it was pretty cool how they made each character, like, connect to another character. But I think how I would have, like, preferred it was, like, the geeky guy with maybe the weird girl, Allison's character, and then the preppy girl with, no, but then that would be the jock also. I don't know. I think, like, how they played it was pretty good. Like, it wasn't, like, too cliche where, like, the popular girl and the jock.
I was so mad because the bully guy the whole time is, like, picking on the prissy girl, like, making her cry, like, was relentless, just, like, being a huge jerk the whole time. And then at the end of the movie, she goes and, like, makes a move on him, and I'm like, are you kidding me? We're rewarding this behavior? I was not happy about it. And then whenever the jock and the, like, weird girl got together and he went to kiss her and he was, like, grabbing her hair, all I could think about was that scene where she's, like, scratching her head and all that dandruff is falling out. And I'm like, is he, like, grabbing a handful of, like, greasy dandruff right now? Like, there's no way she could go from being, like, that gross to, like, macking on the popular guy. I was not about that.
Did you have a favorite character in The Breakfast Club?
If I had to choose, I didn't have anyone that was, like, overwhelmingly my favorite, but if I had to choose, I would say Molly Ringwald's character, just because I like her. And I thought her character, you know, she was one of the more, like, prominent ones, and I thought she was, like, she wasn't, like, a mean popular girl, but she was a little conceited, but she seemed like a decent person.
Mine would have to be Allison, the goth kind of weird girl. Like, I loved how she played that character. Like, that's the only reason why. Like, for Claire, the one that is played by Molly, she, like, for me, that was just like, oh, you're a stereotypical, like, mean girl and pretty girl. And then, of course, the jock was already like, oh, a jock. But for her character, Allison's character, like, gave me, like, a more perspective, because it wasn't, like, really goth either. It was more, like, weird, like, within the weird realm. So I really liked how she portrayed it.
She actually auditioned for Pretty in Pink to be the lead, and whenever she went to the audition, she had, like, some kind of, like, accident with, it was, like, it said she was, like, doing construction or something, and she had some accident that caused her to have 2 black eyes. When she went to the audition, the director saw that and remembered her, because it's the same director that did Pretty in Pink. So whenever he came to cast Breakfast Club, he remembered that look because it was, like, such a weird, like, kind of dark, it gave her, like, a dark look that she had these 2 black eyes. So when he went to cast this, he remembered her and called her and offered her the part.
Gosh, just to stay in a director's like mind is like phenomenal. Like if they write a script just for you, the day will come.
Okay, so what would you rate this movie?
I would rate it a 4. I like that it is, I don't know, I like the setting in the 90s or 80s or whatever time they filmed it. And I just like the whole dynamic of it, of like bringing different groups together and like having them in this room and like figuring out what's going on with their life. So for me, it's a 4. How about you? What are you? I know I'm like waiting to hear your answer. What is your rating?
I rated this a 1 star, and I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I'm not gonna let peer pressure get to me, and that's what I've learned from these high school kids. I felt weird, like, not liking this movie. I felt like I should have liked it because it's such a classic and everyone loves it, but I just, like, didn't enjoy it. I thought the storyline was very flat. I thought it was random that they were, like, this guy was constantly, like, bullying these people the whole time. It's like, I was just like, okay. And then the girl was just always yelling back at him. And then again, like I said, I hated the romantic pairings. Like, it just all seemed very, like, kind of flat. And then I felt like the ending was kind of random. Like, let's make something happen. We need romance. Oh, let's just have these people kiss at the end. Okay, well, thank you so much for tuning in and watching Movies and Munchies. Make sure you go watch The Breakfast Club if you haven't already seen this classic.
And make sure you also try Lara Bar Coconut Cream Pie. If you haven't tried any of their products, they're pretty awesome and they only have 5 ingredients. And make sure to leave a comment or message below and let us know what movie we should watch next. Thanks, guys. Bye.